Ladies and gentlemen, it is 5:31 p.m. I apologize for being 1 minute late. Welcome to this month's today's meeting of the Ridgecrest City Council. I apologize for my fluster. If I can go ahead and call the meeting to order with roll call.
Mayor Braun?
Here.
Mr. Blades? Just here.
Here.
Mr. Heyman?
Present.
We have three present with Mr. Gorman and Mr. Rajaratnam excused absence.
Okay. Next is our approval of our agenda. Do we have any changes to the agenda as presented? Hearing none, do I have a motion for approval of the agenda?
Motion. Second.
I have a motion second. Roll call.
Mayor Braun?
Aye.
Mr. Blades?
Aye.
Mr. Heyman?
Aye.
3 ayes, motion carries.
Okay. I'd go ahead and go to our city attorney.
Honorable Mayor and council members, we have one item in closed session tonight, and that is conference with the real property negotiator. The description as provided and posted on the agenda is somewhat different than what you're used to, but one, we don't know who's going to be negotiator for the property owner or the property, and secondly, we're going to be going in and seeking your direction whether or not council is even interested in moving forward. And once we get direction from you, if it is in the affirmative, any future discussion would be posted in a normal manner.
Great, thank you, sir. Next will be public comment on our closed session. Is there any public comment on the closed session? I don't see any from the audience. I will go to the phones. Is there any public comment on the phones? Caller, go ahead.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can, sir. Okay.
This is Mike Neal, and I'm calling to comment about this closed session impropriety going on tonight. I've emailed all of you in sufficient detail that you should be very cognizant of the fact of California law. I just want to make comment tonight, get it on recorded public record, and I'll just read from the agenda itself. Noting that Section California Government Code, Section 54956.8, and other sections delineate that if you have a closed session discussion about a property negotiation, that's what this is. You're talking about real property negotiators. You get supposed to define the property, what it is, in some fashion, and who the negotiating parties are. You have not defined the property in any fashion, saying we're going to talk about a certain parcel of property in the city limits is a joke on the whole intent of the law. The intent of the law is that the citizens remain informed as much as can possibly be done. And closed sessions necessarily have some secretiveness to them when negotiations are actually in place. What are you going to be talking about? It sounds like you don't even know what property there is that you're going to be talking about. And they're saying that they don't even know who the property owner is. So it sounds like nothing but a fishing expedition that you guys are going to be going behind closed doors to talk about. It's entirely outside the law. It's wrong. It's illegal. I've already communicated this fact to the Kern County DA. And I'm not going to turn this loose. I'll be talking to them some more about this. And if you can proceed ahead with this, there's three of you there, and you can decide not to do this and do the right thing, then maybe you won't have to end up getting a hand slap from the Kern County DA. This is just completely unbelievable. You pulled this stuff in 2016 when they were negotiating the land sale deal behind closed doors about the casino property and wouldn't talk about it properly and notice it properly. And the very same law firm that basically had worked for you then works for you now. Lemieux's running the show here. And he said, yeah, we did it wrong. But he wouldn't do what was right. He said, we'll fix it next time. Well, here's the next time. And you haven't fixed it. You just decided to be all secretive about it. And if you think that engenders any level of trust with the people in this city, then you're barking completely up a tree. My trust in what you guys are going back there to do is absolutely nil, zero, nothing. If you don't know what you're talking about and you're having a fishing expedition going on behind closed doors, this should be something that you bring out in the public and talk about it at that kind of a level until you've actually got a property that you can identify, that we can know which one you're thinking about, and an owner that you can identify, that we can know who you're talking to. And you have neither one of those. You have 1/3 of the requirement, and your lawyer tries to parse this joke off on everybody and say, oh, we've met the requirements of the Brown Act. Well, you have not. So don't go back there and discuss this. Good night.
Good night. Thank you, sir. Okay.
Eric, can we ask Martin to address Mr. Neal's comments? Is that appropriate?
You can ask. You may ask, Martin.
Certainly, I think.
I just want to make sure we acknowledge what he said, and to my knowledge, there are portions of what Mike's saying that are valid, but I think that this is a different case. Is that correct?
In this particular instance, there are two things that are coming into effect. First one is we don't have the identity of the owner or the negotiating party formally. So secondly, we obviously are not going to be negotiating in closed session with the other side. We're going into closed session to discuss with the council whether or not we're even going to be moving forward on this. Also, identification of property prior to a fair market appraisal, prior to even informing the owner that there may be interest, could cause cost to rise and would complicate potential negotiations in the future. So I think the description is sufficient to provide notice to the public as to what is going to be discussed, and we gave that notice before even Mr. Neal spoke. We're basically going in there to look for your direction. If we receive affirmative direction, the next time there is negotiations, everything will be identified as he spoke about.
Cool. Thanks, Martin.
Any other questions, council? Okay. So we'll be breaking into our closed session for conference with real property negotiator, and we will be returning at 6 p.m. Ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the regular session. I apologize. We just had a few extra minutes there in our closed session. If I can go and ask everyone to please stand to join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Chief. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Would either of you fine gentlemen like to do the invocation, or is it on me?
No, I don't think it's on you. I think we could probably take this time just to have a moment of silence for, whatever you believe in. I'm personally a Christian, but I know that not everybody in the community is. So please take a moment to say a prayer.
Thank you. Okay, attorney report out of closed session.
One item was discussed in closed session. It's
Thank you. Just for everybody who didn't hear that, direction was provided to staff. No action taken. Next is our presentation. We have a couple different presentations today. Our first is our grand jury proclamation. And unfortunately, a member of the grand jury was not able to be here with us this evening. But I'm going to go and take a quick moment to share with the audience and with our citizens the request letter, and then also what our proclamation is. For those of you who are unaware, the Kern County Grand Jury, the California Constitution requires that a grand jury be drawn and summoned at least once per year in each county. For over 155 years, the citizens of Kern County have served on the grand jury. The first Kern County Grand Jury was seated by the Board of Supervisors in 1867 to investigate the conditions of a jail. I don't think it was in Ridgecrest, but to investigate conditions of a jail. And the grand jury asks each city council to help our residents become more aware of the importance of the grand jury and the importance of service to our community. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and read our proclamation. Whereas the grand jury is one of the oldest government institutions in our jurisprudence, devised to check the excesses of the English monarchy and to ensure the rights of the accused. And whereas the California Constitution adopted in 1879 provided that a grand jury shall be drawn and summoned at least once a year in each county. And whereas the California grand jury is an arm of the Superior Court. And whereas the grand jury acts as the public's watchdog by investigating and reporting on affairs of local government and recommending ways local governments can be more efficient, effective, transparent, and accountable. And whereas the Kern County Grand Jury is a body of 19 citizens and is a diverse group of men and women with a wide range of backgrounds and interests. And whereas the grand jury make a commitment to serve a minimum of 20 hours per week for a term of 12 months. And whereas a new grand jury panel is impaneled in June of each year. I had no idea they had to do 20 hours per week. That's a lot. So now thereas the Ridgecrest City Council hereby proclaims February 2023 to be Kern County Grand Jury Awareness Month and encourage all citizens to consider volunteering for the Kern County Grand Jury proclaimed this first day of February 2023. And we celebrate and thank the grand jury for their service in ensuring that justice is maintained. Our second proclamation this evening is our safe surrender. And for this, I'm going to ask the council to join me and our local firefighters at the podium. You want to read? Okay, somebody else want to read other than me? Here, you get to read something. We want you to talk to them. This is a good opportunity.
Oh, okay, that's what we're after. All right. So I do get the pleasure of reading the proclamation tonight. A proclamation of the City of Ridgecrest, California. Safely Surrendered Baby Awareness Month. Whereas the Safely Surrendered Baby Law was created in 2001 with the intent to save the lives of newborn infants at risk of abandonment by encouraging parents or persons with lawful custody to safely surrender the infant within 72 hours of birth with no questions asked. And whereas, since 2006, the Safely Surrendered Baby Law has saved numerous infants in Kern County and placed in them loving homes. Whereas in Ridgecrest and throughout Kern County, a newborn baby can be safely surrendered into the hands of any hospital, emergency room, or fire station staff. And whereas the Safely Surrendered Baby Coalition, under the coordination of the Department of Human Services, works to educate Ridgecrest citizens and all Kern County residents about this important law. The coalition is made up of a small group of dedicated individuals representing a long list of agencies, nonprofits, hospitals, and stakeholders, including First Five Kern, Ridgecrest Regional Medical Center, Kern County Fire Department, Kern Medical, Mercy and Memorial Hospitals, and Adventist Health, to name a few. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed by the City Council of the City of Ridgecrest, does hereby proclaim the month of February as Safely Surrendered Baby Awareness Month, and encourages all Ridgecrest citizens to reach out and assist the Safely Surrendered Baby Coalition with their endeavors. Proclaimed this first day of February 2023, Mayor Eric Bruin, myself, Kyle Blades, Solomon Roger Rotnam, Scott Heyman, and Skip Gorman. Gentlemen, have anything to say?
Would you like to add anything?
Sure.
He's like, I'm put on the spot.
Yeah, a little bit how it works. And
Yeah. No, we really appreciate you proclaiming this for February. Over 90 children have been turned into the program since 2006. We had one last year for sure, or 2021 rather, and it's really important that they have a access to somewhere safe to go. And there's no judgment. It can be anonymous when they turn in the child to the emergency room or a fire station, and they'll go immediately to helpful care. So it's wonderful the city supports that.
Thank you. Can we ask you gentlemen to come up so the paper can take a quick picture? Word salad. Thank you, guys. As always, we appreciate our firefighters. Thank you so much. Thank you. Keep us safe. Okay.
Atlanta? Jana? Okay.
You see her?
Rarely, but she's a DHS, so I can get down there, right? We'll get there. Thanks.
You're very welcome. Thank you for driving over.
Okay, our last item is our Department of Insurance presentation. Ms. Charlene?
Yeah, we are blessed with having Richie Sayavong from the Department of Insurance with us, and he's going to give us a short presentation. And the clicker's over there, and
Good evening, the city of Ridgecrest. My name is Richie Sayavong. I am with the California Department of Insurance. By no means am I here to sell you any type of insurance. I'm here to let you know about a program that's been around for a while. So, a quick overview about the CLCA program. It stands for California Low Cost Auto Insurance Program. It's been around since 1999. CLCA does provide affordable, low-cost liability insurance. So this isn't to replace your comprehensive type of insurance. This is available to all Californians, regardless of immigration status. So I'll go a little more into that. CLCA is a state program. There is no taxpayer dollars that goes into this. And of course, the goal is to decrease the number of uninsured drivers. So you're wondering, how do you qualify for this program? So you have to have a valid California driver's license or an AB60. Vehicle value has to be $25,000 or less, and it cannot be financed through a loan. Meeting income guidelines. So income guidelines can be from such things as qualifying for Medi-Cal, CalFresh, CalWorks. If you are under that income threshold, you do qualify for this program as well, and you have to be at least 16 years old. And most importantly, can't have a bad driving record. So no accidents with bodily injury or more than 1 point on your record. So a quick look at how much you're looking at to pay for CLCA if you're looking and interested in it. So I know the shades of blue are a little weird, but Kern County does fall under Tier 2, and you're looking at the base rate of $263 a year. The income threshold, it has changed, and we've updated it, and it is the federal poverty line, so it depends on the number of dependents and people in your household. So for a household of 4 people, you can earn up to $75,000, and you do qualify for this as well. So as I mentioned, what do you need to apply? The AB60 or driver's license, your valid registration, proof of income, and a down payment of 20% of the annual premium. So everything is online for the application. It takes about a couple minutes to do. It's 7 questions. Once you do complete that, an agent will reach out to you and gather more information as needed. So proof of income, it can range from a paycheck stub, a W-2, a 1099, SSI statement. And as I mentioned, if you are enrolled in a state or county program, you do qualify for this as well. And the complete list is available on mylowcostauto.com. So how to apply? Yeah, so it's a quick, as I mentioned, we do have a website and chat that's available in English and Spanish, Monday through Friday, 8 to 4. And the direct number for CLCA is 866-602-8861. Let me go back a little bit here. So a little bit about the California Department of Insurance. Under the direction of Commissioner Ricardo Lara, we are here to protect you, the Californians, from fraud and abuse from your insurance companies. So we regulate all lines of insurance, ranging from fire, life, home, auto. We're trying to get pet insurance in there, but we don't regulate health insurance. That is more with the state and more federal. So annually, Californians, we pay $340 billion a year. And just alone, California is the 4th largest insurance marketplace in the world. Obviously the largest in the United States. So if you ever have any questions or any issues with your insurance policy, give us a call. We do have a phone number that is available to assist you day in, day out. And that phone number is 800-927-4357. Or you can always visit us at insurance.ca.gov. Oh, there we go. So this will conclude my presentation. Are there any questions?
Not for me. Nope. I'm again, for all the citizens that were out there, I believe the information, YouTube will be up tomorrow. All this information will be displayed there.
Some pamphlets.
I
And
did
they
bring
have some pamphlets?
Yes.
And we'll have those out here. We can put those up at the front
Yes.
desk if there's somebody asking for them. And thank you for coming out and thank you for the time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Next item on our agenda is public comment of items not on the agenda. Persons wishing to address the council on matters that are within the council's jurisdiction and do not already appear on the agenda may do so at this time. Council will not respond to any public comments, but may provide direction to staff to collect information. Pursuant to the Brown Act, the city council may not act on any item that does not appear on the agenda. Speakers are limited to 5 minutes, and the public comment section of the agenda is limited to 1 hour. Each speaker is asked to provide his or her name, and we'll begin with comments from the floor. Do I have any public comment from the floor? Seeing none, do I have any public comment on the phones? I have one. Caller, go ahead.
Yes, this is Mike Neal. For a refresher that I've already educated the three of you about previously, but for the record again, Government Code Section 45959 says every member of a legislative body who attends a meeting, that legislative body where action is taken in violation of any provision of this chapter, and where the member intends to deprive the public of information to which the member knows or has reason to know the public is entitled, we were entitled to information you wouldn't give out, as I already talked about before closed session. If you do this, violate anything under this chapter, you're guilty of a misdemeanor. So you did it. The other two that weren't here, they didn't, so they get off on this one. Like I said, I'm not turning this loose. Now let's just talk about public servants and what the California law says about your job as public servants. California Constitution, Article 1, Section 3. The people have the right to instruct their representatives, petition government for redress of grievances, and assemble freely to consult for the common good. This says that the people hold the right to instruct their representatives. That is in the means of both to educate them and to give them direction. This is the superior role of the people versus the role of the councils or the supervisors or anybody in the state. The people's role is not a subservient role, although many of us feel treated like that by bodies like the council at times, certainly by the GA almost all the time. Be noticed that the California Constitution says the people are in charge of this city. The article also defines the council as belonging to the people and working in the people's behalf. You are our servants as to the governance of this city. You're expected to listen to our redress of grievances and act accordingly. And guess what? Public comment is your best opportunity to do so. Now, Government Code 54950 says, in enacting this chapter, the legislature finds and declares that councils and other public agencies in the state exist to aid in the conduct of, again, the people's business. People of this state do not yield their sovereignty to the agencies which serve them. People insist on remaining informed so they can retain control over the instruments they have created. That's you. The council exists to aid in the conduct of our business. We hold the sovereignty, the power, and will not yield it over. People will remain informed in order to maintain proper control over you, the instruments we have created for our mutual benefit. You owe your existence as a council to the power partially ceded to you by the people of this city. All of the above defines two important ideas. First one is the people are the source of authority and power in this state. Second one is the council is a servant body lower in importance and power than the people, and one that is expected to remain in control of the people. We expect that you follow the law and act as public servants, beholden to those that you serve, which is us. Good night.
Okay, thank you, sir. Is there any other public comment on the phones? Okay, one more time. Any public comment from the floor? Okay. We will go ahead and move on with our council announcements and direction. Any council announcements?
I think we have coming up the Balsam Street event. I think that's it. That's all we really have going on.
So,
Yeah.
for more detail, February 10th.
I'm sorry, I'm sitting here playing through in my mind.
I'll help fill in those,
Yeah, if you could.
those gaps there for you.
Sorry, my mind was somewhere else there. My
February
apologies.
10th, a night on Balsam. This is the first event that the city is acting as the organizer for. We have some flyers here. If you've been paying attention to our social media, we've been out there letting you know. We've got wineries coming in. We've got food trucks coming in. This council is dedicated to the idea that we need to continue economic development, especially of the Balsam District, as well as continuing of our entire community. And this is the first effort to provide some outreach and also to see what the interest is and what the participation level is. We did the surveys last year asking you, the citizens, what it was that you needed. And the number one thing that was screamed out over and over again is opportunities for recreation for young adults and for non-committed adults, especially for social gatherings. I don't know how else to say that in a nice way, but we don't have a great dating scene. And the simple fact is that one of the things that they're looking for is us to build more opportunities for community involvement. And this is the first effort that we're stepping forward in that way. And that's going to be a great event. On a personal note, I want to encourage everyone who happens to need to go grocery shopping this weekend to please go grocery shopping on Saturday. And if you happen to see a little boy or a little girl or an adult in a tan uniform standing out there or in a blue uniform for either the Boy Scouts or the Cub Scouts asking for Scouting for Food, we'll be doing our annual Scouting for Food fundraiser to support our local Salvation Army. Last year, we did well over, I think, 1,000, it was like 1,700 pounds of food last year, and we're hoping to triple that this year. There are a lot of need out there, and the Salvation Army has been doing a spectacular job. Kudos to the Nobles and all their work in getting that to the community, and we're hoping to have something more for that this Saturday. Anything, Pete? Okay. Next is our consent calendar. We have, I would say, where is it? There's only one item on the consent calendar. I'm like, where did it go? So we have one item on our consent calendar. All items listed on consent are considered to be routine and non-controversial by city staff. Consent items may be approved by one motion if no member of the council or audience wishes to comment or ask questions. If comment or discussion is desired, the item shall be pulled and will be removed from the consent agenda and will be considered in listed sequence with an opportunity for any member of the public to address the city. Concerning the item before action is taken, the one item is item number 4, proposed action to approve the draft minutes of the Ridgecrest City Council regular meeting dated January 18th, 2023. Does any member of the council wish to have that item pulled? Does any member of the public wish to have that item pulled? Hearing none, do I have a motion for approval of the consent calendar as presented?
Motion to approve.
Second.
A motion and second, roll call.
Mayor Bruin,
Aye.
Mr. Blades.
Aye.
Mr. Heyman,
Aye.
3 ayes, motion carries.
Great. So next item is item number 5. We have 4 discussion items this evening. The first one is number 5, discussion regarding needed appointments to council committees, boards, and commissions. And Ms. Charlene, I completely failed to do my part, and the fact that there's 2 absent council members makes me suggest that this probably has to move to the 15th.
Fine. When we originally discussed it,
But
we weren't sure if we'd be.
I understand that, but if you guys have any of your appointments that you can provide to Ms. Charlene, great. Otherwise,
Nope, we'll put it on the next agenda.
yeah, I think it's.
Thank you, gentlemen.
I think with 2 council members absent and one failing to do his job, and admitting it out loud publicly, you know,
That's what you get.
huh? That one will get quoted. Next item is item number 6, is a resolution of the Ridgecrest City Council adopting the 2023 City of Ridgecrest Standard Details for Public Works Construction. Mr. Reed.
Good evening, council, or afternoon, I guess, depending on what way you want to look at it. So what I have before you tonight is our new design standards. Our last approved design standards were in 1986. They were hand-drawn, and many of them were not being followed. In 2021, prior to my arrival, city staff entered into an agreement with Quadnoff engineers out of Bakersfield to aid us in the redevelopment of our standards. It was a comprehensive process, but we believe we have garnered enough information based on what we've seen, what we've done on some of our other public works constructions to put together a comprehensive set that includes the addition of a general typical lot grading plan, a trash enclosure, what other ones? Revised standards for street sections that follow closely mimic our circulation element, ADA parking stalls, parking, updated sewer standards. So we actually have a standard that shows how we build our manholes. And we actually did use portions of this standard on our Ward Avenue project and our Phase 2 sewer project, as amongst others. One portion that is not in this packet is the verbiage or the specification that goes along with them that basically tells you how you use the standards. I have a couple more updates I want to do to that, but ultimately we wanted to get the actual drawings approved so that way we could utilize it on all of our projects coming up here in the near future. And with that, I am open to any questions you may have.
Scott, I'll let you go first.
Okay, so I just have a question in regards to the trash receptacle standards.
That's where I was going too.
So with the new standards, the current trash receptacles that are out there, are they going to be held to that same standard, or is it kind of grandfathered in?
No, so this would be for new development.
Okay.
So all these standards are basically more tailored towards new development. Obviously, you can see we have it tailored towards 3 dumpsters, as well as a grease trap. We also have notes on just about every one of our standards because we realize that every site is unique. Every job is unique that says subject to either community development director discretion or city engineer discretion. So what this does is it gives us the ability to wiggle within what we've got there. One of the other things I will say that we did that I failed to mention is there's actually within this resolution, we're asking for your guys' consent to allow the city engineer, city manager, public works director, or community development director to make minor changes as necessary as new technology comes about. One of the things I can think of off the top of my head is, let's say we have a new breakthrough in pipe and we want to change from SDR 35 plastic as our base standard to SDR 45 or whatever so may be the new name. So we want to be able to have that ability to update the standards as necessary as we see fit.
Now, would you bring that back to the council as an informative
I
process where you would
I absolutely can.
update us on something that, if it, a major change or
If there is a substantial major change, like we wanted to add an additional standard, that would definitely be something we would bring back. But if there's informative stuff, my opinion would be probably more an infrastructure thing, so we can listen to Kyle talk to us about the new things that we're doing.
That's right. That's what I'm here for.
So, going on your vein is I don't quote unquote know that I need to see it every time, but I would certainly want some type of disclosure of standards changes to the infrastructure committee.
Absolutely.
And I don't know if that's in the resolution or in the direction, but I mean, I would certainly say that if you're making, like your example, 35 to 45, which makes sense, like saying, you put a policy that says, I'm gonna only use iPhone 6s, right?
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
And now we're on iPhone 14, it doesn't make sense. So is that as that standard is changed or updated, that there's some mechanism?
We just want to be able to have the ability to, as that happens, make that change and then inform the infrastructure committee.
fair enough.
So it's more of a, so we can keep up with current technology. So like one of the big things we've seen with our recent sewer work is all of our manhole lids are different sizes. So we don't have, sometimes like we got into one manhole yesterday and we needed to put a temporary lid on it because it was broken. We don't have any of those in stock because it's a weird shape and weird size. So we've standardized our manhole lids, called multiple different precast companies to make sure that we have a lid that's readily available that we can get. So if that, let's say the diameter of the lid changes from 25 and 5/16 to the new standard is 25 and 7/16, I want to be able to have the ability to update our standards so that way we're current with what's being produced.
That makes sense. Second, just making sure that everyone is clear on it. The new standards in here, as Doc was saying, addressing trash. The commercial development, future standards addresses all 3 barrels, just like every citizen does. Okay, so there's not gonna be an exemption for others or future developments. They're all gonna have organics too. And then, I mean, just for the sake of my own, humor, what would a normal timeline be for standards to be reviewed?
When I was at the district, we had 1999 standards. We updated them in 2012 and got board approval to update them as necessary. And that was probably my year 3, I had made changes just about monthly to standards as new fittings, new pieces, new things came out that we could use that we didn't have the authority to use because we didn't call out in our standards what was there. So I feel this should be an ongoing thing that we keep up to date. So one, we don't ever get ourselves in a situation to where we're trying to hold people to 1986 standards that no longer exist. And also, obviously, if new technologies come out, we're able to utilize them.
New technologies and new legislation, because, I mean,
Yes.
I don't believe that we had 17 different bins in 1986.
Correct.
But that's an example of
Yeah, so
how
like-
legislation and technology and availability all drive changes within the standards.
Correct. So like, let's just say hypothetically, this is not that we know of.
can
If
be
we had to
scary.
go to a 4-bin system, we would like to be able to have the ability to expand the width of the trash enclosure. Those are the kind of little things.
Yeah.
Kinda little
LA is
things.
at 5 bins, right?
No, I mean, like, if you were going to Europe, right?
Oh, Europe's at 5 bins?
Yeah. So that's like you said, that's kind of the things that we want to be able to have the ability to wiggle in on and do. One of the other things that I think is pretty substantial to this is we actually have a curb drain standard now. And previously, we did not have an under sidewalk and a curb drain standard, and we would always go rob it from another city and tell developers, you got to put something in like this, and it says City of Lake Elsinore on it. So we actually have 2 of them for 2 different types.
So Travis, speaking of drainage, there has I've heard a lot of issues brought up over the last couple of years, but one of them I heard is lot drainage. Did you change any of that here?
So
Or are you sticking with kind of what we had?
So we actually did not have a standard lot drainage standard. So what we've done, if you look at G1, this shows you our standard of basically having 2% away from the house, which meets the California code, and having a small swell that reaches the front, which is pretty much what everybody has employed. Now, as we all know, there's some issues in the heights because it's a pre-subdivision map act subdivision. There's a note on here that says lot drainage with bubble ups to be approved by the city engineer. So we basically have the ability to allow them to put yard drains and things like that and have them come out in the front face of the curb or at the back of sidewalk as necessary. So that way we don't create future drainage issues for existing or future property owners. So we've left enough wiggle room within our specification to allow us to, conform to any condition that we have.
Okay. Another question I have is about parking spaces. There's always been a lot of talk, even when I was on the planning commission, about changing the city's standard of parking space sizes?
So that is something that is within our code for parking space sizes, how they're supposed to be delineated. If you do notice, and I believe that's like ST, or no, it's M5. So if you do notice, all the sizes match what our code says, but all the pictorial work is single line. So, and it also has the note in it that it's subject to city engineer discretion. So city engineer discretion means that if we have issues where we don't feel a double stripe would work, it gives us the ability to wiggle in on using a single stripe and things like that. And then subsequent to this, I would say it would probably be prudent for us to look at our parking code and update it.
I'm not advocating for a change. All I'm asking because I've heard it at least once a year. It's brought up at some point, and it's usually because a developer wants to get more parking spaces into a parking lot, which I don't think is a good reason to change the standard. I just want to make sure that, since it comes up all the time, and we're talking about standards, that we brought it up.
Yep, and we do. Like I said, we have the ability to wiggle in on what we need to do. And that's obviously something, if a developer is trying to do something, that's something that would, one, have to go through the planning commission, and two, would probably be something, if we wanted to make a change, would come to infrastructure before we brought it here.
Right on. Thanks, man.
Did the widths change? The widths of the stalls?
The width, the actual clear width that the car has to park did not change.
Okay, okay. Okay.
Like I said, that was straight out of our code, straight out of our circulation element, straight out of things that have been published previous that we felt the need to keep.
I'm just very pleased that you were able to find the original standards from 1986.
Actually, we used them quite frequently, and obviously would go out and say, yeah, we
I
can't
hope
do
that you
this.
will cease using them following this meeting.
No, they're going to get displayed.
I got a sense that 36 years of change might I think we could probably we could probably have a laundry list of 100 things that aren't 36 years long in the tooth.
One of the other substantial changes that we did was with the adoption of these new standards, it will require all ADA parking spaces to be made out of Portland cement concrete. We will no longer accept asphalt ADA spaces. And the reason for that is there's way too much variation once they've rolled it. And you usually end up in fights with developers that there's a spot that's out by 0.2% or something like that, but it's under the car. Well, the code says that the whole stall has to be compliant. So I felt I just happened to look down at that standard and read my note, was like, hey, I should probably bring this up since.
And I think just on a personal note, just as public information, I mean, you have been already working with those standards previously, and I know that for a fact because I dealt with them. But, you know, when they were pouring concrete, I didn't know why they were pouring concrete for our EV spaces, and now that makes perfect sense that that's a standard we were already.
We had to follow that standard
Right.
by the DOJ.
Yeah.
We just now have memorialized it and added one additional piece to it that says the longevity is a lot greater with concrete than it is with asphalt. Is it a little bit more expensive? Absolutely, I won't lie. But the amount of care that you can have with finishing concrete and keeping it within a tolerance, you have a lot more wiggle room than you do. There's a lot more unknowns with asphalt. So most of the time, most of your developments already propose them in concrete. So it was just one of those things that makes
Interesting.
all my inspectors' life easier, and there's less fighting, and it's a lot easier to achieve the desired grades that they need.
And having regular, well-documented standards, again, these eliminate hurdles in future developments because it's much clearer than, hey, you got to kind of go look up for Lake Elsinore and see if you can make up what they need. Got it.
Absolutely.
Wise move for a city. Okay, I have no other comments. No? Okay, is there any public comment? I see none from the floor. I'll give a moment for the phones. Seeing none, I'll go ahead and bring it back to council. Do I have a motion for approval of the resolution of the Ridgecrest City Council adopting the 2023 City of Ridgecrest Standard Details for Public Works Construction?
So moved.
Second. Second.
I have a motion second. Roll call.
Mayor Bruin,
Aye.
Mr. Blades.
Aye.
Mr. Heyman,
Aye.
3 ayes, motion carries.
Thank you, sir. You gonna stay up here for this one too?
Yeah, just in case you guys have some questions.
'Kay.
She's doing what we try to do here as staff members. She's helping me out by taking something for me under one of the things she was doing, so.
We're trading. Okay, item number 7 is proposed approval of additional American Rescue Plan Act funds to replace the park roofs located at the Leroy Jackson Sports Complex and Upjohn Park.
I was gonna ask these guys, because all these guys are leaving.
Yeah, I was
Did
saying.
did you guys want to talk about something? No?
They're gone.
Yeah, I that's why I asked public comment twice, because I was.
Well, maybe they didn't, I mean, because sometimes people don't know about the order of things.
Might have been a civic lesson.
I had been a civics lesson, that's what I was thinking, it was a teacher too. Okay. Well, again, we always welcome public comment. We certainly would have welcomed anything. We'll go ahead and move on with our agenda. So Ms. Wagner.
Good evening, council. So on January 5th, 2022, the city council approved the replacement of the roofs on the concession building at Leroy Jackson and the bathroom and gazebo at the Upjohn Park. During the process and waiting for Mr. Reed to get back to me on whether or not this could just go out and get 3 quotes, due to all of the projects we've been working on, this was kind of a little lower on the list just because of the bigger projects we had going on, as well as what he had. During this time, the original estimate that was received was $52,118. The new one is an additional $6,922 for a total project of $59,040. This is still going to be putting the metal roofs on. We have already began scheduling, and the materials have been ordered, so the price is locked into place. I just need the additional funding in order to complete the project. So I'm asking council to approve the increase of appropriations in the ARPA allocation for $6,922. With that, I am open for any questions.
Okay. Ms. Blades?
I only have one question. Since we see the increase because it did fall to the bottom of the totem pole, is it still at the bottom of the totem pole? Or
No.
are we going to have to?
We actually have the job scheduled for next week to start. The roofing company should be out here.
That's it. I just wanted to make sure that we weren't going to be coming back for another.
Yeah, and I think there was supply challenges too, that
Yeah.
they were being told, okay, yeah, we can order, but you can place the order now, but you might get it 6 months from now, versus now they've got hard numbers and supply chain is starting to get easier, if I'm correct.
I assume there was a logical explanation. I just want to make sure. I mean, if you just read what's given in the packet here, the public would look at this and go, oh, so you guys put it off. Now it's costing more tax money. You're going to put it off again. So I appreciate it.
Apologies. Scott?
No, I don't have anything to add. It seems like the cost increases decreased a little bit compared to the last couple of years. It's like 12% instead of 20.
I have no questions. This is another one of the ARPA projects getting done. Is there any comments or questions from the floor? All right. Seeing none, do I have any callers or comments on the phone? Okay, caller, go ahead. Caller, go ahead.
Yes, this is Mike Neal. So I have a question on a little small detail on this item. How many square feet are there in the sum total of the roofs on these buildings? And I'd like somebody to break it down and tell the public how many square feet there are and how many dollars per square foot of roof that the public is going to have to shell out for this roofing project. And you can answer that as I get off.
Hang on.
Hey, Travis, you don't have to guess at the number. We can provide him that information tomorrow.
Specifically, yeah.
Okay.
Like I said, I don't remember off the top of my head. I'm pretty sure it
I
was
don't
close to
either.
2,800, but.
Staff will give you a specific square footage number. Is there any other comments? Guessing caller's gone. Okay. Is there any other public comment or questions? Okay, seeing none, I'll go ahead and bring it back to council. Any other questions or comments? Nope. Hearing none, do I have a motion to approve the additional funds from the American Rescue Plan Act to replace the park roofs located at the Leroy Jackson Sports Complex and Upjohn Park?
Motion for approval.
Second.
I have a motion and second. Roll call.
Mayor Bruin?
Aye.
Mr. Blades?
Aye.
Mr. Heyman?
Aye.
3 ayes, motion carries.
Okay, next item is item number 8. This is discussion regarding the board of the Indian Wells Valley Groundwater Authority. Mr. Heyman.
Thank you, Mayor. We have not met, and we will be meeting next week, so I do not have any report tonight.
Yep. Mr. Hammond, do we want to discuss with the council of our potential plans of heading to Washington DC to meet with our representatives regarding outreach and lobbying for specific wastewater and GA projects?
Looks like you
Looks like we just did it.
Okay. Sure. Well,
I think you just covered it.
Well, Capital Corps has requested myself, along with Mr. Heyman and Carol O'Keefe, to go back to Washington, D.C. to work on federal funding for the City of Ridgecrest for the wastewater facility, as well as for the Groundwater Authority for the interconnect project. So we were looking at planning a couple days back there, and we were going to be meeting with our congressional folks and senators and a few of the departments to be able to, discuss these projects in hopes to be able to, bring some of this funding, to Ridgecrest.
All right, well, it sounds like you guys gonna have a good trip. It'll be constructive, I'm sure. I'm adamantly in favor of these kind of trips because these relationships that you build, that FaceTime is invaluable. It's huge. So I appreciate you guys going out there. It's not a vacation, it's a lot of work, so.
Yeah, we're
turn
looking
into
at
long
probably
nights.
8 hours worth of meetings, and they're in the process of seeing if we can schedule that during the first week of March. But I felt it was important that we let council know that, this was in the works, and at least the public should know that what we're going to be doing.
If you're going the first week of March, it's going to be a busy. They're going to be hearing a lot about Ridgecrest. Because I'm there the 28th to the 26th to the 2nd. So yeah.
Correct. Yeah, we'll let you know the dates as we start to get them worked out. Then we'll kind of let you know when we're heading out and what the plans are.
Appreciate you guys going.
Okay. That's it. Okay. Is there any public comment from the floor? Seeing none, I believe we have one person on the phone. Caller, go ahead.
Yes, this is Mike Neal. So I have a statement of demand to make of the council concerning issues related to the Groundwater Authority, and that is the recycled water, which I addressed at the last meeting. I've addressed this several venues. The simple fact, anybody can think about this for about 2 minutes and figure out that the water that will be coming out of the recycled water treatment plant owned by the citizens of Ridgecrest is their water. Well, I want a resolution crafted, written up, to direct the city manager, any city manager, this one or any future city manager, that this water is not to be sold to any other parties or charged back in any fashion to the people of Ridgecrest. Is to be taken out of that plant and credited to the allocation for the water district. That is our water. And if you don't agree with that thought, then why don't you get busy and do what you seem to love to do so much and put a little poll out and find out how many people in this city think that's going to be their water and belongs to them and they shouldn't be charged twice for it. Go ahead and find out. And I'll be writing letters to the editor to the effect and post on Facebook to that effect to get public push on this because I don't care if Lemieux says it's legal in some fashion. Supposedly some law says that water belongs to the agency processing it. I don't care about that whatsoever. I care about what is right, and what is right is what I'm asking you for tonight, and to be done right by the people of this town so they don't pay twice for water that they basically own. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
So I'd like to just make a comment on that. So that same question was proposed by Mr. Neal at the Groundwater Authority meeting, and it was answered by Keith Lemieux, our legal counsel. And so I don't think there's anything to add to that. He may disagree with legal comment on it, but it was answered.
Okay, I believe we have another caller. Caller, go ahead. Caller, go ahead.
Hello, this is Ronald Porter. Okay. I support what Mr. Neal said. It should go to all the water that goes into that plant is being paid for by water users in Ridgecrest, and it should be applied to them instead of being taxed twice on it. But I have a question. Has the Groundwater Authority applied for any grants from the state for the new sewer plant?
Do you want to take that one, or do you want to leave it?
Well, I was going to let you finish your comments if there was any other comments before we respond.
Well, I just want that. I want that question answered. Have they applied for grants from the state?
Yeah, it would be the Groundwater Authority. Are you asking whether the city of Ridgecrest has applied for?
The representative from Groundwater Authority is there. Has the Groundwater Authority requested any grants from the state under their water projects, which they have grant programs there?
We've received a couple different grants, but they're not related to the wastewater plant.
Yes, but the Groundwater Authority can, because it produces water, can ask for a grant for the reclamation of the sewer water, and it's available there.
Yeah. We'll answer the question when you're complete. I just want to make sure that you didn't lose your time to make whatever other public comments you'd like, Mr. Porter.
That's fine. I just want that question answered.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
I'm not going anywhere.
Okay. But you have no other comments?
No, I want to listen and see what he says.
Okay.
I have no comment.
You can't answer whether they've applied for one or not? Have they discussed it?
No. No.
Well, then I request that you make a request that they actually seek one.
Yeah, so I think Mr. Porter's just asking, he wants to make sure that we, the GA, I'm not the GA, I need to make that clear, that the GA and the city is asking our representative to go off and look around for a grant to help with the wastewater plant. Now, Ronald Porter, I am the secondary, so all I say is this. I know that it is an ongoing conversation. I know that just from watching the meetings. I know that the GA is always looking for these things, and especially with Capital Corps there, they're working really hard. So if there is a grant that can be had, if they are looking in every corner, they are picking up rugs and looking through dust. They're doing a pretty good job. So I just wanted to.
It wasn't criticism. It's just that under the state groundwater authority, they have grants that they could get for the sewer treatment plant.
Yeah, absolutely. So I don't take it that
they're actually making one for that specific thing, and if they're not, I'm asking that they bring it that our representative from the city brings that request forward.
You bet. Okay. Well, thanks, Ron. We'll pass it along.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, we have received a $2.5 million grant for the wastewater facility that we're in the process of acquiring at this point in time. We do plan on applying for a Defense Communities Infrastructure Program grant through the federal government, probably in December of this year, hoping to be able to apply for anywhere between $5 and $10 million for the plant. So yes, that's one of the purpose of us going to DC is to look for the federal money, which would be the DCIP funding, and then any state money that we'd be looking for in the way of a state revolving fund grant. We're also looking out for, we'll probably be applying for that again this December. But we have to get a little bit further along in the plan design of the plant. Preferably about 90% design completion allows us to get enough points to be competitive to be able to get that low interest loan. Like I said, I really didn't want to, I know council's trying to keep us from debating back and forth with public comment, so it was more of just waiting to him to answer his questions so then we can answer it back.
Sure. And I just wanted, I remembered those conversations ongoing, but I don't want to speak for the Groundwater Authority first. And two, it was important that we
Correct.
don't argue back and forth. It looks like we have another comment.
Caller, go ahead.
Hello.
Hello, go ahead. Caller, go ahead.
Hi.
Press forward. You bet.
I'd like to really ask some questions and try to simplify what's being discussed here. My name is Mike Sanat. As far as I understand now, you're building it, you're setting up a new project, the recycle project. We have the wastewater treatment facility project, and you're going to Washington to discuss funding for a recycle project, I assume with the Bureau of Reclamation, to help fund whatever we'd call a tertiary treatment plant so that you can re-inject the water that's processed into the ground. Is that correct?
So direct injection is one of the primary uses of that water. So it's determined to be the most viable source or project at this time.
But you need to build another project to inject this treated water. So we've got a project that's beginning soon called the wastewater treatment facility, which I'm guessing is around a $60 million project that the citizens of Ridgecrest have been, or the ratepayers in Ridgecrest have been paying for the last 12 years. Now we're talking about building another project for recycling that and sending that water for injection. And that water is going to be purchased by the Groundwater Authority, correct?
Not necessarily. Yeah, I don't think
I
we
said,
could.
there's a lot of mix-up pieces there.
Yeah.
Well, no, it's so confusing here. Let me explain just a little further. The city has negotiated an option to sell that treated water to the Groundwater Authority, correct?
I know the answer.
The answer is yes.
Well, Mr. Sanat, when you, not to get into a debate, but I guess we're going there.
No, I mean,
It should not be on the ratepayers for the wastewater plant. Just can I answer your question?
No, you're not.
I can answer your question if you let me talk.
Well, go ahead then.
Okay. It would not be equitable or fair for the citizens of Ridgecrest to pay through their wastewater rates to treat that water to the degree that it needs to be treated for direct injection.
Okay.
Without some sort of compensation back to our ratepayers. So yes, there will be a cost to that water, but that cost will be passed along because we should not be paying for that additional treatment for that other project. So yes, there could possibly be an exchange of funds, but that would be more of a reimbursement for those costs that go along with that. Because as you know, the city of Ridgecrest cannot make a profit on these activities. It's only for the cost of what it takes to do it. So
That's kind of where I was heading with this.
Okay.
I know that you've optioned 2,000 acre feet to the Groundwater Authority. And I believe that the cost per acre feet was $2,031. So that effectively we're talking about $4 million a year that will be paid by the Valley Groundwater Authority, the people that own property in the Groundwater Authority management area. So this is a $4 million a year expense to the people in the valley, effectively, the water users.
Mr. Snod, Mr. Snod, I think your math is a little wrong, but it's not,
but
it's quite a bit wrong, but we don't really have time to get into that.
Well, the option contract specified the price and terms for the water. It was 2,000 acre feet, and it was $21.30 per acre foot.
The contract does not have a purchase price in it.
Yeah. Mr. Salon, I'm going to go and extend your time about 30 seconds more because we did have some conversation. You have about 30 seconds left on your clock.
I'm trying to get some clarification, and I'm still not clear on what this cost is going to be to the users, the water users, which are city residents.
Well, Mr. Snod, we don't know that cost yet because we really don't know what the project details are going to be. So it's hard to have a cost when you don't know particularly what level that water has to be treated at and all the particulars.
Is it fair to say that all of these costs associated with this recycled water program and project are going to be borne by the water users in this valley?
I'm not sure exactly what you're referring to, but I do think that the people who pay the wastewater fee should not be paying for a project that is borne by another entity.
Well, who's going to pay for the project?
Again, I think
Currently, there is no project to be determined at this point in time.
We're not going to do a debate back and forth. Thank you, Mr. Snod. If you'd like, we'll be happy to answer any questions that you'd like to email. We'll be happy to respond as much as possible. Thank you, sir.
You're going to have to answer these questions at some point. And the reason I'm asking them is because you haven't given us any information.
We appreciate your comments, sir.
Okay.
Next, any other public comment on the phones? Okay. Bring it back to the council. Any other final comments? Water. Okay, next item is our committee reports. Committee meetings and dates are subject to change, and we have had, I think, just one since the previous meeting because city works tomorrow. That's okay, and Parks and Quality of Life is next week. So,
Infrastructure canceled.
And infrastructure canceled. Okay. RACVB. I had to get all the way down the list there, Megan.
Hello, can everybody hear me? So first thing with RACVB is off the bat, we do have a new regular meeting date. So previously we were meeting the third Wednesday of the month at 9 a.m. at the California Welcome Center. The time and the location are going to be the same, but we're now going to be having regular meetings the fourth Wednesday of the month at 9 a.m. in the California Welcome Center. So we did have a workshop on the 17th, and we reviewed the Brown Act laws. Rika, our city clerk, was there to give us some training, so we had a presentation. We also reviewed the bylaws for the RACVB and made some new appointments to the finance and marketing committees. So one change is that I will now be a representative on the finance committee rather than the marketing committee. So that's a little change there. And then we also discussed at that workshop our future goals moving forward into the future. So our big focus moving forward is going to be a lot on filming. There's talk of trying to organize a FAM tour, a familiarity tour, so the producers and scout locations can come out, see the area. So that's going to be a big focus for the RACVB moving forward. And also the quality of life, very similar to the city, focusing on local events, also more community events like off-road races and sporting events like the softball tournaments and things. They want to definitely continue those. And I will get into some of those specific events. As we know, the Night on Balsam was mentioned. I'll have some more details for that in a minute. So the idea is to hopefully do more of like a quarterly type of event. And we do have a couple other upcoming events through some other organizations. So I'll start from the backwards one. There is going to be a Naval Air Weapons Station China Lake hiring event. That's going to be through the Fleet and Family Readiness program, and that's going to be in conjunction with the city. It will be from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. on Saturday, the 25th of February, here at Kerr-McGee Center. There also will be an event that the Chamber of Commerce is having their Economic Outlook Conference on Thursday, February 23rd. That will be held up at the Desert Empire Fairgrounds from 8 to 12:30. And then the one that I'm going to spend more time talking about is this Night on Balsam. That's something that the city is working with the California Welcome Center, Chamber of Commerce, and a few other of our local sponsors to put this event on. It'll be Friday the 10th from beginning at 5 p.m. And so I do have flyers up at the front for anybody who wants more information. There's also a Facebook event page, and we're hoping that it's going to be the first of many of these type of events. We will have an opportunity to collect public feedback at the event and following the event, so we can, hear what people liked, what they didn't like, and hopefully continue to improve as we move on. So we will have 8 different food vendors, 4 different wineries, and there will be live music as well. So hopefully people will come out and check it out. And just some other kind of housekeeping things. This December statistics, the merchandise sales at the Welcome Center were up, and that was probably a lot due to Christmas holiday shopping, locals coming in and buying Ridgecrest merch. So hopefully that will continue to grow as more people are aware that what the kind of things they have to offer. We did see the occupancy numbers slightly go down, but that's likely due not to a lack of demand, but just an increase in supply with the Holiday Inn Express opening at the end of October. So we know there's a lot of new hotel developments on the horizon, so just something to keep in mind as we look at those occupancy numbers, that the demand is still there, it's just the supply is increasing. So that was really all I had. I'm open to specific questions if anybody has any. No. All right, thank you.
I don't have any. Kyle? Nope. Thank you, Megan. Other committees, boards, or commissions? Anything? Did anybody attend State of the County last night?
So
I apologize, I wasn't able to. But
Yeah, not really a committee, but I did attend State of the County last night. The State of the County is that they're very hopeful for the future. They talked a lot about their efforts to assist, like they have homeless areas they're working on to get people that are camping on the streets into other areas. The county are putting a lot of money towards the sheriff's department, a lot of incentives. Our big driver, I mean, we produce a lot of oil and a lot of energy for the state. I mean, that's pretty much this. I mean, there wasn't a whole lot. I'm not bad. I mean, if the county's watching this, which I'm sure they are, I don't mean anything negative. I'm just saying that the state of the county is the state of the county. We know the oil prices are down. People aren't a big fan of Governor Newsom, and life is stepping forward.
One of the things I got out of it last night was that Kern County is pretty impressive when you look at its net, position in comparison to other states, whether it was oil or ag. It's the largest ag county in the nation, and coming from a farm area in Illinois, and that's a pretty big statement. And same with the oil. I think don't quote me on numbers, but I believe it was third highest oil county. When you look at states like Texas and Oklahoma, those are pretty big numbers. So I'm pretty proud to live in Kern County. I mean, we're a major economic I think driver for the state of California. But I thought it was a good meeting overall. So, did you have anything you wanted to add, Ron, as far as your take on it?
Okay.
They did a good job.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I knew that had just recently happened that I know I wasn't able to send. Okay, city manager report. Unless there were other ones that I missed, other boards or commissions, I didn't think so.
Yes, just one thing. As you know, we're still dealing with the rollout of the new organics trash program as well as every other week trash. I know that staff has been working very diligent in returning phone calls to the public. As I stated the last meeting, we're basically in public outreach version 2.0, where we're now, returning a lot of phone calls, addressing, a lot of these issues are staffing issues at Waste Management when it comes to picking up their trash. They've been missing some routes. And so Megan's been working well with their staff to pass this information on to them. So we're hoping over the next couple of months, this thing will soothe out a little bit. But in the meantime, we are taking and logging the information so we can see what adjustments, if any, we have to make in the future. But like I said, Megan and Ricka and a few others have been, answering these calls and getting back to the public and really trying to answer their questions and any sort of issues, getting them connected with Waste Management to try and get some that can be resolved. And others, in my opinion, are just going to take a little bit longer because it's more of just, changing, people's daily behavior, which, sometimes is not the best thing in the world to ask people to do. So we're still working on it, and I think we're going to be hopefully picking a date for the next town hall, but we're just waiting for the right time to where we get enough people exposed to the program, so the next town hall will be worthwhile. Hopefully we'll get a decent turnout. But like I said, we're still working on the outreach on Facebook and everything else. So we're doing the best we can.
Thank you, sir. Mayor and council comments. Doc, I'm going to let you be first.
I have none.
Kyle?
Yeah, sure. I'll the staff's giving me the
Well, they know they got at least 20 minutes
Trying
from
to
me,
pull
so
the-
they're just
yeah, trying
like,
to Yeah, real quick, I'll mention, because I did get a lot of people tag me on Facebook when it comes to trash problems, which I'm I've realized after I've been on the council for a few years now, I don't consider myself, a seasoned vet, but I have been around for a few. And I've realized that now on social media, if somebody tags me, I do try to respond because I consider that somebody coming up to me in a public space and saying, hey, can you answer a question? And I'm always happy to do that. Several people tagged me today. I was at work, in and out of meetings. I didn't get a chance to answer those. So I'll try to do that tomorrow. The point is this. You heard the city manager say that the staff's working hard to roll this program out and do what they can. That the staff, are working with Waste Management to smooth things out. We know that Waste Management is having some issues. It's not like we're not trying to hide it. We know that there's problems going on. We know that they're understaffed. Waste Management may not be saying that, but I know it to be the truth. I think that all of the United States right now is understaffed. I think it's important, if you're watching this, that you understand a few things about why we're here and why this happened in the first place. This is an SB 1383. It was a democratic process. The state of California, through its representatives, passed Senate Bill 1383. The governor signed it in 2016. There was several components to SB 1383. We're focused on the compost because that's what directly affects us, but there was also other components to SB 1383, which is food repurposing. Like if a grocery store has stuff that's still edible yet kind of out of date, that has to be shipped somewhere. Well, those grocery stores are working on it. Some of it gets redistributed through the Salvation Army. Okay, but what's affecting us is the compost. So then I have seen many claims on Facebook. I'm calling them claims because they are your opinion. They are important. And if you don't know all the facts because you haven't been part of the negotiations for a year and a half, it seems a lot of this seems unfair. The truth is, we have a dump that's filling up, and it's not just filling up with regular old trash, it's filling up with recycling. We have a state that's keeping their eye directly on everything that we're doing. And I'm not saying I'm afraid of the state. What I'm saying is, rightfully so, they're saying, hey, you're not diverting enough recycling. When SB 1383 got passed, now we need to get rid of the compost. I think that's a good thing. I think we're behind the times, and I think if you look around, let's just look in the state of California, there's a lot of other places already. Already this is happening. If you just look to our neighbors in Lancaster, they had to pass something, and you can look it up in the news. They wrote about it. City Council passes SB 1383. Well, in Lancaster, your waste management bill, it goes directly to your property taxes, not like it's done here. I'm not casting any kind of shade towards Lancaster, but they did not go out to look for a waiver to see if they could try to find a negotiation in price. The only one that we could find is to push the trash to every other week. Their bill is now $111, $112 for every 3 months, where ours is, what, 75, 78, somewhere in there? That's not to say they did something better than we did or we did something better than they did. It's just to say that that's the efforts that your staff is taking. Your staff went out and did that before the council even got involved. What we hoped is that a place like Ridgecrest, the small community, that we would pick up on this and we would start doing we would separate our trash so you wouldn't have to pay that extra amount of money. That seems logical to me. I personally have delved in as far as I can, like on Facebook, to explain these things, and I do understand that people don't always get it, and I hate that I have to constantly use the word Facebook. For some reason, Ridgecrest is stuck on Facebook, but fine, that's where we are. I'll keep meeting people wherever they are. If it's at Starbucks, if it's in Albertsons, if it's here, there's not a lot of people here. I know there's some people online. I'll meet people where they are. But it's important that you understand where they are, because I see so much misinformation getting passed around on social media. And for some reason, it's assumed that if you make a comment on Facebook, that must be a comment to the city. It's not. It's not. If one of us happens to catch it, that's great. I know Eric and I are probably the most active. We're always running around trying to see where we can find comments. But he's got a full-time job, probably and a half, plus a bunch of kids. I got a full-time job, so I'm not always on social media trying to find those. Your staff is going out of their way, well out of their way, to not just take phone calls, which they should, but to field those phone calls and answer as lengthy as possible. Now, the bills could be higher. I can tell you that I live in town just like everybody else. I sort my trash. You know what I don't want a higher bill. I also don't want to see that bill go on my property taxes, just for future reference in case that's ever being considered. So I think it's important that everybody understand. We, the city of Ridgecrest, can't fight the state of California on something that passed through the legislature and then got signed by the governor. Now, there are times, I'm sure, now the lawyer can correct me, Martin, you can correct me if I'm wrong, that Senate bills have been repealed at some point. I know there's some work to repeal, is it Senate Bill 47? I know that's going on.
Yes, you're correct.
Yep.
Some bills have been repealed.
Yep.
I think 8 is also being targeted, isn't it?
Yep. So there are bills that are being targeted. What you would have to do then is somehow turn programs that have been done throughout all over the state of California, and you have to turn all of those people to get all of their representatives to want to overturn a Senate bill like this. Now, the complaint about trash, people's trash not being picked up. Well, let me just, for a moment, because I did get tagged on Facebook, many of those pictures, if you just zoom in on them, there's compost hanging out of those trash cans. There's recycling hanging out of those trash cans. If the crows are pulling the trash out, and if you're taking this the wrong way, like I'm scolding people, I'm not. I'm just trying to point out the obvious, and I think I'm doing it during my own comments. Because if you want to engage with me, which I wish you would, let's please have the discussion. Let's talk about what it looks like if we have to go to a trash pickup every week, which I'm not advocating for. Let's talk about it. But let's know everything up front, and that's all I'm trying to do. And I can tell you that as a representative, if we are trying to institute a program and I walk up to the trash can and there's recycling hanging out of it and compost hanging out of it, the first thing I'm going to say is, have you tried to even use this program that's being mandated by the state of California? If not, what are we supposed to do? What are we supposed to do about that? And would you have any faith in me as one of your representatives if I'm not going around trying to do the right thing? If we get knee-jerked from 1 second, from 1 second to the next, this person loves the program and they want to up the bill because they want to do more composting. But this person doesn't want to compost at all. Matter of fact, I hear snide comments about people throwing their, I'm just going to throw my trash in all 3 of those bins and I don't care what happens. That's not in the spirit of trying to better this community. That's certainly not in the spirit of trying to forward this community. So please don't take my comments as trying to scold anybody. What they are is I'm hoping to educate. I'm hoping that what you'll do is you'll listen to me and you'll go, you know what? You're right. I don't want to see my bill go up $30 more than it already is. Because I can tell you that Waste Management would probably love to have every dime we give them. I'm sure they would be overjoyed for us to go, yeah, you know what? Let's renegotiate this. I mean, they're a corporation. They're for profit. Why not? But we aren't. It's our job to look out for people. It's our job to look out for this community and do what's best for it. And in the long term, I don't want to create another dump before we have to. I don't want to see that go to our taxes. I don't. So what I'm imploring, is that I'm hoping people will think about it. Yes, be frustrated. You are entitled to be frustrated. I am no less frustrated than the rest of you. But once we get past that, realize that we have to sort our trash. You have to do it. You have to do compost. We don't get around that. I think that if you have questions, keep reaching out to the staff. The staff's been great about it. If you want to ask me, and I'm getting a lot of messages, so I'm guessing whatever I'm saying, and I'm going to use my comment period to open this up. It's important. Okay, it's important that we all try to actually work as a community to make this place better. And I think there's a lot of other counties and communities that are doing things we aren't. It's not about being a liberal. It's not about being a Democrat. It's not about being a conservative. It's not about being a Republican. I could tell you that some of the first efforts in this country that were to help the environment were started by conservatives, people looking out for the environment. So let's not do that. Let's not draw party lines and pretend that the state is the devil because they want to compost. Yeah, you can disagree with the science. I am not an environmental scientist. I'm not going to start arguing with anybody about methane and what happens to the ozone layer. All I'm going to say is, since I am a representative for this city, I'm asking everybody listening to this to pause, be frustrated, go through the stages of grief, move on to where we all have to be and separate your trash. If you are part of the corner cases, which they are out there, and I'm not denying that, there are certainly people that have to have something else. We've been talking about it ad nauseum. I've been addressing the staff's been talking about it with Waste Management and CalRecycle. It is ongoing. We understand that some people have special circumstances. If you have an enormous amount of people in your home and you need more trash, then you have to get another trash can. That's not something that I'm not going to apologize for. If you're really creating that much trash that has to be sent to the dump, well, you're putting it in the dump. So I'll end with, please reach back out. Please talk to us. I've been addressing as many questions as I can through email, through text, through Facebook messages, through long form answers. I have no problem to continue to do that. If you want me to meet you in a parking lot at Starbucks or at your home, I will gladly come to your home. I don't care. But if we don't talk about these things and actually try to vet them, we can't make things better. So.
Megan is desperately trying to get your attention.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm staring off into space.
No, it's okay. I did text you. I just wanted to let people know we do have the magnets, the sorting guide magnets available at City Hall for anybody who's trying their best to sort things but may just be confused about what goes where with the new bin. So those are available for anybody who would like one.
Yep. Thank you, Megan. Because it is the rest of it. While I have an enormous amount of people angry at having to sort their trash, that's really what it comes down to. I do have a certain amount of people who are trying so hard to do the right thing that they don't want to put the wrong thing in the compost bin. They don't want to put the wrong thing in recycling. And I can promise you, if you're trying, that's good, because that's more than what a lot of people are indicating to me. So let's keep trying. Thank you, everybody, for your efforts. We will get through this. This is going to be a bump in one of the many difficult things that face a community. And let me know if I can help.
Thank you, Kyle. Well, he went 12 minutes, Travis, so he did pretty good. I'm going to see if I can cover 31 to see who will be the next. But Mr. Blades made some very good comments, and I'm not going to beat the horse too many times. I think he expressed the passion of this council and the same things that we feel, which is, guys, I don't think any one of us was running to the polls to make sure this got happen. That this was put in place. This was put in place in 2016. I know you weren't elected at that point. I know I wasn't elected at that point. I know you weren't elected at that point. I know that Skip wasn't elected at that point, and I know Solomon wasn't elected. So all 5 of your council members were not seated at the time the state decided to make a decision. Now, does that mean that we have a responsibility to do the best that we can for our citizens? Of course it does, and that's what we've been doing. We went into this a year in advance of conversations, a year of prepping and what can we do and how can we communicate it. And, it was almost a year ago, around this time a year ago. I mean, I remember sitting here having a conversation about, okay, do we make sure that we have composting bags available? Do we have this available? Do we have that available? We spent time thinking about what our citizens' impacts were, and we understand and respect that there's going to be frustration. But Mr. Blades put it very well. We were behind the times. And the fact is that this was passed in 2016. Urban cities around the state have already been on multiple barrels for several years. This made it more of a state mandate across the board, and it made us, in the proverbial old book name, they forced us to move our cheese. If you've never heard that term, who moved my cheese? That's what happened, is your cheese got moved. Now, the difference is that you can react to that with the frustration and the anger, and I respect everyone out there who has a frustration or anger. You have every right to it. But I think that what happened is we truly are in the very beginning of implementation. We are only 3 weeks into this, guys. We need a lot more weeks to get people acclimated, to get people adjusted, to get people doing exactly what Mr. Blades said, which is making that good effort. And I want to make sure that I say a few things, which is first, you hear us say Megan, but you haven't heard us say Megan McKenzie. Megan McKenzie has been carrying huge parts of this trash burden on her shoulders now for roughly the entire time she's been employed with the city of Ridgecrest. And I just want to compliment her on what she's continuing to do, which is listening to our citizens and working for resolutions. Kyle mentioned the idea that they're understaffed, and Waste Management has said they're somewhat understaffed, but they're also undertrained. And that's a problem that we have seen across the nation and across our community. And if you have even taken a moment to call a customer service line in the last 12 months and not sat there and said, well, I wonder where the training is, that's because we went through one of the greatest reshuffling of staffing in American history over the last 18 months. And the result of that is that people are learning their jobs sometimes. And mistakes are made. And what we do is we look at those mistakes and we make corrective actions and we try to make the best possible solution. One of the scenarios we had recently was just a mistake. They didn't realize that it could be in the composting bags. Simple mistake. But we addressed it. We got the crew out there. We got it picked up. We addressed what the problem was. We talked to the owner. Boom. Citizen at least gets communication. And that level of communication is something that this city has been doing for the last 2 years with a dedicated effort. And again, Megan, I know you've taken a bunch of calls. Thank you. And thank you from your council, because for every call or message that we're responding, we know that you're probably taking 3 or 4 directly, and we appreciate it immensely. So I just want to make sure that thing is said. Waste Management is a little understaffed. They're a little undertrained. And what we're going to do is we're going to get that right. We're going to continue to work with them. They've made the commitment. And if you have a situation that happens and you communicate it to us, the odds that you're going to get an immediate 1-minute response, we're going to solve everything for you, is not the case. Just like it is here in public comment. We sometimes can't give you a 1-second answer. There's a lot more to it. But I can tell you that if you're communicating with us, we're going to try and find ways. The other one I want to reiterate that Mr. Blades didn't get a chance to mention is, once again, if you are finding that you are diverting stuff and you need a larger barrel, you can have an additional recycling barrel at no cost to you. You can have a larger organics barrel at no cost to you. Those are both available. In fact, my family's getting a 96-gallon organics and another recycling delivered this week. Why? Because in the first 3 weeks, I have seen our recycling bin filled more than I have in the previous history of my household, with 4 children and 2 adults. And I posted something, a story that really touched me. And you know, I get my, you know, what is this about? And you know, of all the problems we're talking about, your trash, you know, yada, yada. But here's the point, is up until implementation, my motivation for making the change didn't exist. And that's the truth. I had the best interests of my community at heart. I care about my community, but I wasn't motivated to make that change within my household because I had bought an extra barrel. And so I had my 2 barrels and they were getting picked up every week. And so I didn't have any trash building up. And so if I wasn't diverting, I'm not diverting. Bad on me. Bad being a citizen, bad being an elected official. I can take all that on my shoulders and say I have to own that. Because the moment that it changed, my attitudes in the house changed, and it was remarkable to see. It was, we're putting together Subway wrappers and we're throwing them over here, and the kids are emptying the ice cream container and saying, is this recycle or what do we do with this? Or then it's suddenly seeing, you know, cans of bubbly that, you know, would have just been chucked in the trash before, you know, they're lined up, rinsed out, and dropped in the recycling. And things like that. I mean, Christmas season is crazy box season. I saw my son break down more boxes than I'd seen him do in the last 11 years of his life. Why? Because there was a change of mindset that was being brought on. Now, I know there's, for everyone out there that's hearing me saying the positive, there's a negative person out there saying the government should have no intervention in my life and shouldn't be telling me what to do. And if I want to throw my trash in the trash can, I should be able to do whatever I damn well please. Well, you can. You just have to pay for it. It's that simple. You want a second trash can? It's another $11. They'll bring one out to your home. You don't want to fill the organics? Don't fill the organics, okay? You want to cancel your service? Hey, I'm not going to encourage you to because that's going to create problems down the line, and I don't want to get into enforcement problems. But the simple fact is that I believe this community can all rise to this opportunity rather than succumb to the argument. That is the difference between Trash 1.0 and Trash 2.0. See, Trash 1.0 was about implementing something that we didn't have a certain amount of no room for consideration. SB 1383 said that municipalities have no choice but to implement this. This is not optional. This is not we can negotiate it the way we want. And we did everything in our power to negotiate the best price possible for our citizens. I'm not going to keep hammering that. I just want to say, make a little bit of an effort and you might be shocked at what the results are. And if you think it's too hard for you, again, we can get another recycle bin to you. We can get another organics bin. We can make it happen so that it's good for you. And it was easy. Absolutely.
I won't drone on for a bunch of 12 more minutes, but I did want to add something because we were giving the staff accolades for all their work. Now, the city manager, he takes a lot of guff. He's taken a lot of it in the past. I'm not going to try to, you know what, if you want to call up and give him grief, then I think he's okay with that. He's not scared. But I will say this, if you're out there in the community and you're frustrated and you call this city staff and cuss and yell at them, which I know has happened to multiple members of the staff, please know that if that is you, I am disappointed in you. You could take that how you want it. If you want to call your representatives, I know at least these 3 guys up here, that's our job. We'll take the heat. If you're calling the staff and mistreating the staff, I think you shouldn't be surprised that people are helping you. I forgot to mention that, and it's very important.
There's no reason for him to be exposed to that.
No problem. And obviously, once again, Mr. Blades is absolutely correct. They've worked hard to make this happen, and I think rudeness doesn't, what's the old adage? You can catch a lot more with honey, a lot more flies with honey than you can with vinegar. Yep. I think that's a good adage for us to end our night on. I wish you all a wonderful evening. Our lines remain open for communication. Thank you for everyone who came out, and we'll see you again on the 15th.